I, 32F, have been married to my husband, Ryan, 34M, for 6 years. We met in our mid-20s, had one of those sweet, steady relationships, nothing overly dramatic or passionate, just comfortable. Safe. We were best friends, planning our future. I thought we were solid. God, I really thought we were. But apparently I've been an idiot. I found out he was cheating in the dumbest, most ridiculous way possible. He forgot to log out of his email. I wasn't even snooping. I wasn't looking for anything. I was sitting on the couch last night, half asleep, and he was on his laptop, probably paying bills or checking sports scores or whatever. He closed it when he was done and went to bed before me, like he always does. I didn't think twice about it. But then, maybe an hour later, I needed to check my email. My laptop was dead, and his was sitting right there, so I grabbed it real quick. I figured I'd just open a new tab, log in, check my package tracking, and that'd be it. Except the second I moved the mouse, the screen lit up, and there it was, an open email thread with someone named Samantha. My stomach dropped. I don't know why I clicked on it. Maybe I already knew, deep down. Maybe some sick part of me needed to see it with my own eyes. What I saw made my blood run cold. She had sent him a picture, not fully naked, but enough to make me feel like the room was spinning. And his response? God, I can't stop thinking about the other night. I wish I was in your bed right now instead of at home. At home. With me. I felt like I was going to throw up. My ears were ringing, my face was hot, and I was just staring at those words, trying to process them. It didn't feel real. I wanted to close the laptop, pretend I never saw it, crawl into bed next to him, and go back to the life I thought I had. But I didn't. I scrolled, and scrolled, and scrolled. Months of emails, of meetups, of I miss you, and I wish I could see you, and I hate sneaking around. And the worst part? She knew about me. She wasn't some clueless woman who had no idea he was married. She mentioned me by name. I can't wait until you leave her. Have you told her yet? Are you really still sleeping with her? That's disgusting. If you love me, why are you still there? That one made my vision blur. If you love me, why are you still there? I don't even remember closing the laptop. I don't remember getting up. The next thing I knew, I was standing at the foot of our bed, looking down at him while he slept so peacefully. Like he hadn't just destroyed everything we built together. I wanted to wake him up and scream in his face. I wanted to throw ice water on him, slap him, smash his goddamn laptop against the wall, but I didn't. I just stood there. Because in that moment, I realized I wasn't looking at my husband anymore. I was looking at a liar, a stranger, someone I thought I knew, but clearly never really did. I barely slept that night. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was suffocating. By the time the sun came up, I had already made my decision. I got up, got dressed, and packed a bag. I didn't even care if he woke up and saw me. I was done. But before I walked out the door, I went back to his laptop, pulled up his email, and typed one last message to Samantha. You can have him. Then I shut the laptop, grabbed my bag, and left. That was 24 hours ago. I haven't answered his calls. I haven't answered his texts. I don't even know what the hell I'm supposed to do next. All I know is that I'm never going back. Update 1. I never expected to feel this way. Numb, and yet somehow filled with this gnawing emptiness. It's been about a week since I left Ryan, and it still feels surreal. Every day is a whirlwind of emotions, yet every moment is one where I remind myself that I've made the right decision. I've read your comments, your messages, and your support has truly been overwhelming. It's helped to know I'm not alone in this. After I left, I stayed at a friend's house for a few days. I didn't want to go back to our apartment. The thought of being in that space where everything felt familiar and safe was terrifying. The moment I walked away from that place, I felt like I was walking out of my entire past. The comfortable life I thought I had, gone. But the reality of being alone, without the safety net of Ryan's presence, was something I wasn't ready for. The emptiness was suffocating. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all of this? Ryan kept calling me, leaving voice messages and texting. He begged me to come back, said he was sorry, that he made a mistake, that he would do anything to fix this. But in my gut, I knew it was all lies. It was too late. He had the opportunity to make things right, and he chose to betray me, to lie, to humiliate me. There was nothing he could say that would make this right again. The hardest part has been dealing with my emotions. One minute, I'm so angry that I can't breathe, and the next, I'm filled with so much sadness, I don't know how to process it. I find myself staring into space, remembering the good times, and wondering if any of it was real. Could it have been? Or was I just a fool? The first thing I did was get a lawyer. I had no idea where to start with the divorce process, but I knew I had to do it. My lawyer has been amazing, and I'm already working on gathering all the necessary documents. It feels empowering to take control of this situation. I also started looking at apartments. I've been focusing on finding a place where I can start over. I don't want to go back to our home, not only because of the memories, but because I need to be in a space that's mine, where I can heal and rebuild. It's hard to picture myself in a new place, but I'm determined to make it happen. It's a small step, but it feels like progress. I've also started talking to friends more. People who I've leaned on in the past. They've been supportive, understanding, and have offered their homes if I need a place to stay. It's nice to know I have people who care about me. As of now, I haven't responded to Ryan. I don't plan on it either. Every time I even think about picking up the phone, I remind myself of the betrayal. I remind myself that nothing he can say will ever change the fact that he lied to me for months, that he's been with someone else while I thought we were building a life together. I'm still not sure what comes next. There are days when I feel strong and other days when I feel like the weight of it all is too much. But I know this. I'm done being a victim of his lies. I deserve so much better. Update 2. It's been 3 weeks since my first update, and I feel like I've made some solid progress, though I'm still processing everything that's happened. The emotional roller coaster has definitely taken a toll, but I'm starting to feel like I'm finally moving forward, even though it's hard. The lawyer has been fantastic, and I'm relieved to say that the divorce process is underway. Ryan hasn't contested anything, which was a huge relief. He sent me a text a couple of days ago, asking if we could talk. He said he wanted to explain everything, that he wanted a chance to make things right. But I didn't respond. I've been firm about my decision, and I'm sticking to it. A couple of days ago, Ryan showed up at my friend's apartment. I wasn't expecting him, but I wasn't exactly shocked either. He came unannounced, just walked right in without knocking. I didn't even hear him arrive. It was almost like everything else in the room went silent. I stood there, frozen for a moment. He looked so different, as though all the years I had known him were suddenly wiped away. Ryan started apologizing immediately. He was crying, begging me to listen. He told me that he loved me and that this was all a mistake. He said the affair meant nothing, that he just got caught up in something, and that he regretted it deeply. I didn't want to hear any of it. The moment he walked through that door, I could feel the anger rising. I didn't want to hear his excuses. He kept repeating that he was sorry and that he couldn't live without me. He wanted us to go to counseling, to try and rebuild, but I told him that I couldn't trust him anymore. How could I? How could I ever look at him and believe anything he said? I asked him to leave. I told him that this was it. I was done. It wasn't easy to say, but it felt like the only way to move forward. After he left, I sat on the couch, completely drained. I wasn't even angry anymore, just numb. It hit me all over again that my marriage was over. The life I thought I had built was gone. I feel a bit lighter now that the confrontation is over, but the sadness is still there. I've been going through the motions of the divorce. There's a part of me that wants to be free of this and move on, but there's also a part of me that wants to wallow, to feel the sadness. Update 3. It's hard to believe that it's already been over 2 months since I left Ryan. The days blur together in a way that feels both surreal and empowering. The process of finalizing the divorce felt like an eternity, but now that it's done, I feel a deep sense of relief. There were days when I couldn't imagine getting to this point. Days when the weight of the betrayal felt like it might crush me, but here I am, standing stronger, more self-aware, and surprisingly, okay. When I signed the divorce papers, I expected to feel an overwhelming sense of relief. But it didn't come immediately. Instead, there was a quiet finality to it. The gravity of the situation settled in. My marriage was officially over, and with it, so was the version of my life I had been living for 6 years. But even in that moment of finality, I felt empowered. I had made the decision to reclaim my life. After the divorce, I didn't immediately feel like celebrating, but I also didn't feel as devastated as I thought I would. There's a part of me that thought the pain of ending this relationship would haunt me forever. But instead, I felt this strange peace. A peace that comes from letting go of something that wasn't healthy anymore. Letting go of someone who was not the person I thought he was. Ryan didn't try to reach out after the divorce was finalized. There were no big emotional pleas for reconciliation, no desperate calls begging for forgiveness. At first, that was hard to come to terms with. I had always thought of Ryan as the kind of person who couldn't walk away from something he had invested in. But the truth was, our marriage had become just another thing in his life that he could toss aside when things got complicated. It made me realize just how much I was better off without him. In the immediate aftermath of the divorce, I threw myself into the process of building a new life. The first thing I did was focus on creating my own space. I found a cozy apartment in a quiet neighborhood, a place that felt like my own. It's not the grandest place, but it's mine. I decorated it slowly, each piece a reminder that this was my chance to build something new. I filled it with plants, light-colored furniture, and artwork that spoke to my soul. Each step of making this apartment feel like home was a small victory, a tangible way of reclaiming my independence. The first night I spent there alone, I didn't sleep very well. I kept thinking of all the memories I had made with Ryan in the past. Memories that I had associated with comfort and stability. The house we shared, the dinners we cooked together, the moments of laughter that felt real at the time. It's strange how you can invest so much of yourself into someone and yet have them become a stranger to you so quickly. That night, I lay awake, feeling both a sense of liberation and a deep sadness. But as the days passed, the sadness started to fade, and it was replaced with a growing sense of pride in myself for taking the steps to move forward. It wasn't just about moving into a new space, it was about creating a life for myself that was entirely separate from what I had been living. I began focusing on my career more, something I hadn't given enough attention to during my marriage. I threw myself into work, making sure to set healthy boundaries and prioritize my own well-being. I started to enjoy my job again, something I had lost sight of when I had been constantly juggling the emotional demands of my relationship. Around the same time, I started to re-engage with my social circle. I had been isolating myself in the months before the divorce, withdrawing from friends because I didn't want to admit what was going on in my marriage. But now, I felt ready to reconnect. I started hanging out with old friends, going out for dinner, and catching up on everything I had missed. It was amazing how comforting it was to talk to people who cared about me without judgment. I didn't realize how much I had needed them until that moment. In terms of dating, I wasn't looking for anything serious, but I didn't want to close myself off to the possibility either. I met a few people through mutual friends and went on a couple of casual dates. It was weird at first, trying to remember how to flirt, how to have fun without the weight of the past hanging over me. I wasn't ready for a serious relationship, and I made that clear to anyone I dated. It felt good to be honest about my feelings and intentions, something I hadn't fully embraced before. I'm slowly learning to enjoy being alone, not in the lonely way, but in the independent, I don't need anyone to complete me way. I've been spending more time on my hobbies, reading books I've been meaning to dive into, and even picking up new interests like yoga and hiking. I've become more aware of my needs and what makes me feel fulfilled, and that's been one of the most healing parts of this journey. I still think about Ryan sometimes, and I still have days where I wonder what could have been. But those thoughts are becoming fewer and farther apart. What matters now is that I'm building something new, something that's entirely mine. And that's enough for me. Final update. It's incredible to think that it's already been 6 months since I walked away from my marriage. I've learned so much about myself in this time, and as much as I never wanted to go through this, I can't deny that it has transformed me. I'm not the same person I was when I first left Ryan, and I'm proud of the person I've become. The first few months after the divorce were a blur. Days felt long, and nights were even longer. I spent so much of my time processing the pain, working through the grief of losing not just my husband, but the life I thought I would have. But now, 6 months later, I can confidently say that I'm finally at a place where I feel like I'm living again. I'm not just going through the motions. I'm thriving. One of the most significant changes I've made is truly learning how to be by myself. Before the divorce, I had always been part of a partnership, and I never truly understood the concept of self-love or self-sufficiency. But as I spent more time alone, I began to really discover who I am outside of my marriage. I've learned to enjoy my own company, whether that's reading a book, going for a run, or just spending a quiet evening watching my favorite shows. I've found peace in the solitude that I never knew existed. It's a different kind of happiness, one that's not dependent on anyone else. I've also rediscovered my passion for travel. A few months ago, I took a solo trip to a place I had always wanted to visit. It was terrifying at first, being alone in a foreign country, but it was one of the most liberating experiences of my life. I realized how capable I am on my own and how many adventures are waiting for me out there. I'm planning my next trip already, and this time, it feels like something I deserve. Something for myself, with no strings attached. My career has also taken on a new dimension. I've been promoted at work, and while that's a huge accomplishment, what's more important to me is that I'm doing something I truly enjoy. When I was married to Ryan, I felt like I was always juggling priorities and suppressing parts of myself to fit into a role I didn't want. Now, I'm focused on what makes me feel fulfilled. My job is no longer something I have to do to survive. It's something I want to do because it brings me joy and purpose. In terms of relationships, I'm still taking things slow. I'm dating, but it's not my priority right now. I've met some amazing people along the way, but I'm still learning to navigate what I want in a partner. I'm open to love, but I'm not rushing into anything. For now, I'm enjoying the process of getting to know new people without the weight of needing them to complete me. I've realized that I'm whole as I am, and any relationship moving forward will be built on that foundation. The one thing that has surprised me is how much emotional clarity I've gained. I no longer harbor the anger and bitterness I did in the beginning. I've come to a place where I can look back at my marriage and see it for what it was, both the good and the bad. Ryan is still a part of my story, but he no longer has the power to define me. I no longer feel angry at him or the situation. I don't wish him ill, but I also don't feel any obligation to be a part of his life. I've learned that healing isn't linear. There have been days where I've felt completely fine, and then there are days where the sadness comes flooding back. But the difference now is that I don't dwell in those moments. I let myself feel the sadness, but then I move forward. I've learned to acknowledge my emotions without letting them control me. That's been one of the most empowering lessons I've learned through this entire journey. 6 months ago, I never could have imagined feeling like this. I thought I would never move past the betrayal, never move past the grief. But I'm living proof that we can heal, even from the deepest wounds. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to find out I'm in control of my life, and that's all I could ever ask for. Thank you all for your continued support. It's meant more to me than I can express. I'll keep moving forward, with my head held high, ready for whatever comes next.